A very good morning and welcome all of you to the daily news analysis for 5th of March 2025. So, Supreme Court reprimands the centre and the state governments for increasing cost of treatment, healthcare treatment in the private sector hospitals and asks them to frame the guidelines. So, first thing first, what is the entry number? What is the entry in which the healthcare as a subject is governed? Is health as a subject given in the list of states, union list or concurrent list? This is my very easy question for the day to you. Supreme Court asks the centre and the states to regulate the cost of or the conduct of private sector hospitals in general. A very important issue. Out of pocket expenditure in India is to the tune of 70%. You all must have faced this in at one point of the time or other point in your lives, that whenever our near and dear ones are going through some treatment, healthcare costs, we dread the very feeling of exorbitant cost of treatment. Okay, not to talk about COVID, not to talk about 18% healthcare GST on the medical healthcare insurance premium. We are not talking about that. We are talking about the lopsided nature of the private sector healthcare in India. Why is it that the public sector hospitals are being sidelined and the private sector hospitals are, which are listed on the stock exchanges, which are listed on the bourses, the NSC, BSC, you talk about Fortis, you talk about Max Care Hospital, you talk about any hospital today, private sector hospital, these hospitals are listed on the stock exchange, thereby being accountable to the stock market for their profit, and yet at the same time they are fulfilling an important welfare duty that the sovereign, that the state is expected to perform. That is why an important question, what is the entry number for healthcare as a subject given in the state list? Okay, so as I said, the data is 70% out of pocket expenditure. Okay, we'll talk more on this. Then finally, some you can say logic falls upon Zelenskyy after visiting European Union, meeting UK's Prime Minister, then conversing with the France's President. He finally agrees to a truce. What are the contours of the truce? We are going to talk about in the news analysis. These are the other news articles that we are going to study today. There is a lot on our platter for the day. We are going to study these news articles one by one. I'll be highlighting the important points for your preliminary exam, side by side telling you the dimensions for the mains examination for GS mains paper 1, 2, 3 and 4 wherever applicable. Now let's get started. Telangana. Anti-defection law which seeks to prevent the Ayaram Gayaram phenomena. That means MPs or MLAs, once they are elected on the ticket of one particular political party, they should not change sides. They should not switch sides from Congress to BRS, from Congress to BJP and likewise. Okay, this will render, anti-defection law was supposed to render stability to the government and thereby leading to good governance. But Speaker being the quasi-judicial authority to determine whether an MP or MLA has actually changed sides or not, he was supposed to act in a time-bound manner. That means if any anti-defection law petition, if any petition for the defection of an MLA from Congress to BRS, in this case of Telangana, has been filed with the Speaker, Speaker should adjudicate upon the same in a time-bound manner. That means you can take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months maximum, or let's say 6 months. But what if any MPs or MLAs defection petition filed by his own political party whom he defected is pending for 3 years? This is the concerning matter. This is the lacunae in anti-defection law, that petitions are pending for as long as 2 to 3 years, especially in this case of Telangana. Okay, even though the term of the whole of the state legislative assembly has expired, 5 years completed, but Speaker did not decide upon the anti-defection law, the petitions pending before him. Okay, so that begs the question that should we amend the anti-defection law once again so as to insert a time limit? Otherwise, the Supreme Court, the Telangana High Court, they have been very concerned about this phenomena of pending anti-defection law petitions before the speaker, even as the term of the assembly expires, because of the reason that speaker belongs to ruling political party. Ruling political party speaker would not decide upon the petitions, anti-defection law petitions, which would lead to the fall of his government and in turn his own seat of the speaker as well. Okay, if the speaker belongs to Congress party in Telangana and the petitions are pending against the Congress party MLAs only, 10 MLAs, how would he decide the matter? He won't decide the matter. He would let the matter linger on for 3 years. Ultimately, the matter went to Telangana High Court. Then Telangana High Court, in a way, stopped itself. The division bench stopped itself from deciding upon these anti-defection law petitions, saying that this is the realm of legislature. Okay, this is within the domain of legislative assembly, so it would not be proper for the High Court to decide upon the long pending anti-defection law petitions. Now the matter reaches Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has, on the funny side, made a very interesting remark. Every time it cannot be operation successful, patient dead. What does it mean? It means that even though the petitions have been decided, although delayed manner, but the term of assembly is already over. If the term of assembly is over, operation is successful, patient is dead, what is the point in deciding the anti-defection law petitions after the term of the assembly has expired, after the result is in favor of the MLAs, in a way, because of the reason that petition should be decided on time. MLAs who dissented, who basically defected their party, should have been disqualified within 3 months or 6 months. The problem in anti-defection law, brought about by 52nd Amendment Act and 91st Constitutional Amendment Act. This was Rajiv Gandhi years, 1985. This was 2003, Atal Bihari Vajpayee years. Okay, so these amendments inserted their respective refinements. Now is the term for third amendment, it seems, to insert some interesting things. The anti-defection law says that the term of the disqualification's effect is only till the MLA gets re-elected again. If the MLA recontests the election after disqualification, he is relieved of all the disqualifications. Right? So that means if an MLA switches side from party A to party B and gets crores of rupees and recontests the election, he is again as good as a newly elected MLA. He is free from all the disqualifications, all the blemishes that come along with defection, changing sides. That means he is as good as having taken bath in Sangam waters, purified now. So this is the lacunae, that disqualification should not ordinarily be allowed. If it is done by somebody, disqualification should not ordinarily happen. If it happens, its impact should be beyond the term of the Legislative Assembly. Second point, there should be a time limit on the speaker to decide on the anti-defection law petitions in ordinary circumstances. Otherwise, if the time lapses, if for example the time exceeds, he is not able to decide upon them, then the statement of objects and reasons has to be laid before the court, the Supreme Court, and then the matter should be decided by the judiciary, first the High Court of the concerned state and then the Supreme Court. I hope you got my points. We will cover this anti-defection law bits and pieces through this daily news analysis only, but the reforms that are required, since the daily news analysis helps you add the dynamic points, I have given you 2 suggestions as to how to change it. This was one of the analytical pieces of news in today's news analysis, so we have covered it in a holistic manner. Okay, so speaker, being a partisan figure, being a partisan functionary, is not able to effectively take care of effective implementation of anti-defection law. Moving further, there is a case from Manipur, 𝐂𝐿𝐴 Singh versus Speaker Manipur. There was undue delay in this case as well. Okay, 2015 matter it is. So the Supreme Court ruled that a direction can be issued to the speaker to decide disqualification petition within a reasonable time frame. Why the Supreme Court, why the judiciary is hesitant to issue any kind of direction? What is the article that stops the interference of the court in the legislative bodies, in the state legislative assemblies? Please answer this question. What is the article number? We have been discussing the parliamentary privileges We have been discussing about this article in the past also. So I just want the article number to be cited by you. What is the number of the article? Please answer quickly in the comment section. Supreme Court emphasized that in a democracy, the process of deciding disqualification petitions cannot be allowed to linger on until the end of the term of assembly. Otherwise, it's a case of operation successful, patient dead, right? So this is the MCQ that is there on this topic. Quickly go through it. Which of the following grounds can lead to disqualification of a member of Legislative Assembly under 10th schedule? Okay, so 10th schedule was added by 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act, as I said, in the year 1985. Okay, so you can remember these two amendments: 5 into 2, 10, 9 plus 1, 10, and the schedule that was added by them was also 10. Okay, 5 into 2 leads to 10, 9 plus 1, 10. Years 1985, Rajiv Gandhi. Okay, and then 2003, the coalition government of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, having 22 political parties. It was difficult to manage these IRAMs and GAYARAMs. That is why the second amendment was required. We'll see the context of second amendment later on. Yes, article 122, article 212. Very nice. You can memorize these articles also, jumbling the numbers. 122, then 212. Okay, so coming to the other topic of the day, functioning of real estate regulatory authorities. Some of your relatives, maybe your parents, would have faced a phenomena whereby you booked a flat in an apartment, but the apartment making company, Larsen and Toubro, talk about GMR, Omax Builders, okay, they gave you a hope, but your house, your apartment, your flat was never completed, okay, on time, leading you. There are many government officers also, government employees also, who before their retirement decide to buy their flat with their hard-earned money, but their money gets choked, their money gets blocked in the apartment project, which is going to see completion maybe in the next janma, maybe in the next life. So that is why, with this intention to prevent such kind of real estate frauds, Real Estate Regulatory Authority was this act was enacted in 2016 to prevent these frauds. Builders were getting the money from the buyers, advance money from the buyers, and they were for project A. For example, for project A, builder got the money from the buyers and then channelized it to buy the land for project B, thereby leading to a situation whereby the money gotten from the project A flat buyers was diverted towards this project B, and the building will remain incomplete. Project A building will remain incomplete, leaving the buyers, prospective homeowners of this building in lurch. Building will never be completed. That is why Real Estate Regulatory Authority was enacted. This act was enacted in 2016 to prevent such kind of frauds. After 7 years of its working, the situation is more or less the same. Even though you see some sanity has come in the real estate market. Okay, we are a populous country, so the property prices increase very fast. Okay, you see here, launched pre-RERA projects. Pre-RERA means pre-2016 projects. 47 projects were there. Post-RERA projects, 17 projects. Mumbai, 27, 13. Number of projects launched after the RERA have come down thanks to the regulations. But are the regulations by Real Estate Regulatory Authority, which seeks to register the agents, property dealers, because many real estate frauds were happening, selling the same property twice over, thrice over, okay, like you see in the movies like Khosla Ka Ghosla. So what happens is land fraud is there. So to prevent these kind of phenomena, this Real Estate Regulatory Authority Act was enacted, but its performance has been below par. Supreme Court has intervened in a matter in the petition filed by one of the eminent lawyers, which says that these real estate regulatory projects are now facing a problem whereby if a builder's project fails in one state, if let's say Omax Builders, if the project of Omax Builders in Noida, UP fails, then the project of Omax Builders in the Gurgaon would also fail, leading to a ripple effect. Okay, domino effect. So this needs to be prevented in the sense that RERA Act needs to be amended, and the functioning of RERA, real estate regulatory authorities, should be subject to the central government, Ministry of Urban Development, right? So, but the Supreme Court said that central government, the state governments may not accept this idea. Why? Now you tell me, which is the entry which governs the land as a subject? Where is it placed? Regulation of land as a subject. Okay, so please answer this. Last few days, in the last week, we have also analyzed about one important portal, one important project that has been launched for the GIS mapping of the urban areas. Also tell the name of that scheme that has been brought about. Only last week we had discussed about it. Okay, so if you are regular with it, you get to see the accumulated knowledge regarding this topic of GS mains paper 3, regulation of real estate, then urban areas, rural areas, GIS mapping. What was the name of the scheme? The name starts with N. Okay, now coming here to the other issue, this is the question on real estate regulatory authority. Quickly have a look at it, then we'll proceed further. Now, which of the following is or are the primary objectives of Real Estate Regulatory Regulation and Development Act 2016? To ensure transparency and accountability. Let me tell you one important provision of this I forgot to mention. It has got an adjudication mechanism also. So RERA functions like a tribunal also. If there is any problem with with any project, RERA sits in as the tribunal. RERA members, the chairperson of State Real Estate Regulatory Authority, sit as the members, and then they try to address the grievances of the home buyers. Okay, cheatings, etc., project delays, etc. So the project which is delayed is labeled as RERA delayed or RERA fail project. Okay, then the builder will be blacklisted. So builder, the chairpersons of the company, real estate company, will not be allowed to set up another company. These type of norms are there. Got it? Adjudicatory functions are also there in the domain of real estate regulatory authority. Now coming to this another issue, quickly I will address. Without analyzing, there is no point in reading out the news articles. So story goes back to 2015 when National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, which administers the list of national list of essential medicines, those medicines which are available at a concessional price or completely free of cost, those generic medicines which have been patented by the big pharma companies but are available for the low cost treatment, because everybody is not Yuvraj Singh to go to US for the chemotherapy. Okay, everybody hasn't earned money through hitting 6 sixes. So that is the problem, that poor people need to be taken care of. National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority was doing a commendable job, and it ventured into an arena which it was not authorized to, but authorized to as well. What do I mean? I mean to say, if you read the objectives of National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, enacted for the purpose of taking care of the overall cost of treatment. In 2015, one of the chairpersons ventured into the area of looking after or regulating the cost of the hotel rooms. Why do I say hotel rooms? Because if you go to Fortis, the room in the hospital is as good as room in the Hyatt Hotel. Hospitals are matching the facilities as that given by the hotels. Right, but the cost of treatment is very exorbitant. So National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, under Mr. Singh as the director, it sought to regulate the cost of medical devices. Okay, then the cost of consumables. Okay, so cost of medicines was being regulated, but the hospitals, the crooks managing these hospitals, what did they do is they started increasing the room tariff, which is not in the domain of National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority. Okay, then what did they do? The cost of consumables, band-aid, consumables, you talk about dressing, etc. That is not a pharmaceutical product in the strict sense of the term. Okay, so these hospitals, they started charging overprice for the room, and they started charging overly for medical devices, heart stent, etc. Okay, then they also started charging high for consumables, dressing, etc., band-aid, etc., etc. Okay, Dettol, you talk about those things, the things which are not categorized as pharmaceuticals, because the mandate of the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority was restricted to pharmaceuticals only. So the 2015 chairperson of National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority was transferred. We are talking about 2015. You know the year. Why am I mentioning it? Okay, we are in the Satyug after that year, right? So why the Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority was not given the mandate to regulate the overall cost of treatment, sir? When the cost of treatment, when the out of pocket expenditure is up to 70% as per Reddy Commission of 2012, appointed by the erstwhile the dead patient, that is Planning Commission. Okay, Reddy Commission was appointed. It said that cost of treatment is as high as 70%. Let me give you some other metrics. Population to doctor to population ratio in India is around 1346, 1350. Even as the WHO recommends the doctor to population ratio to be around 1:1000. Okay, COVID revealed all this data. Now, these are the problems. NPPA, out of pocket expenditure, and the Supreme Court intervention in the matter, wherein the Supreme Court says that why the private sector hospitals have been allowed to loot the poor people. Well, another related issue has to be mentioned here because it is our news analysis. Recently, we were talking about the insurance premium that you buy for your wealth care. Healthcare is an essential thing. Why do I say wealth care? We are buying such a necessity to cushion ourselves, to cushion our loved ones' lives against the medical treatment, cost of medical treatment. And on that too, we have to pay 18% GST. This is the related issue that was going on. Now, let's move to the other issue. Okay, an achievement here, Mr. Health Minister, Mr. JP Nadda, he cited some important metrics. We have been able to achieve the maternal mortality rate of a certain number, okay, which was long pending. Between 1990 to 2020, we have been able to achieve MMR. We have been able to reduce the IMR to under 5 children to 75%, way above the global average as cited by the WHO data. So this is the data that you need to memorize. India achieved an 83% decline in the maternal mortality rate, which is significantly higher than the global decline of around 55%. Okay, then infant mortality rate, India saw 69% decline in the infant mortality rate. What do we mean by infant mortality rate? This is 0 to 1 year. Babies who die before completing 1 year of age. So infant mortality rate has been reduced by 69% compared to 55%, that is the global decline. Under 5 years of kids, the kids that are there or under 5 years, their mortality rate has experienced a 75% decline, while the global decline average is 58%. So these are some accolades, these are some credits that go to the Ministry of Health Affairs, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Okay, so but the cost of treatment thing is concerning, worrying, and Supreme Court has sought some intervention. Okay, now you please answer, what is the Sustainable Development Goal target for India? SDG targets for India insofar as the health sector is concerned. The more the questions you answer, the more of you answer these questions, the more interesting and enriching your DNA will be. You can feel the difference in the next day's analysis. This is I can vouch for, provided you are also learning and answering these questions. Now moving further, what else did he say? He says that chief medical, the officers that are there, the administering authorities that are there, their capacities, their financial powers, their decision-making capacities need to be strengthened. Chief medical officer, a very common term that you hear in the hospital, that you hear at the district level, and then we have state CMOs as well. Okay, their training and capacity building exercises need to be optimized. Goal of improving healthcare scheme results at the to achieve the goal of achieving the healthcare schemes results at the grassroots level, the periodic training and capacity building of chief medical officers is important. Then ASHA workers, even though the honorable minister, he praised the work of accredited social health activist workers, but they have been crying for long about the payment of bare minimum wages as per the Minimum Wages Act. These ASHA workers have been an important cutting edge level functionaries in the delivery of the healthcare schemes. Talk about polio eradication, talk about Anganwadi nurse midwives, talk about the various other schemes, immunization program, talk about TB eradication. ASHA's work the work of the ASHA workers has been indispensable. Despite that, they are crying for their proper incentivization. Minister ensured that their empowerment and welfare through the empowerment of the people and welfare will be taken care through revised incentives for the routine activities, immunization, vaccination of the kids, babies, etc. The achievements that we are seeing wouldn't have been possible without the contribution by the ASHA workers, right? Now, moving further, targets under National Health Policy 2017. I have incorporated them. You can download the PDF from the Telegram channel. You know the Telegram channel. If you do not know, Jatin Verma sir, PW only IS, the link is given in the description box below. You can visit the link and can download this. Okay, so what are the targets under Sustainable Development Goal 3? This is the question for the day. The policy sought to achieve 90-90-90. What is the 90-90-90 target by 2020? And I have been telling you repeatedly that the objective was to spend 2.5% of GDP on health care under National Health Policy 2017. We haven't been able to achieve even that. Okay, now moving further, Zelenskyy calls for truce after Trump halts military assistance. Okay, so Zelenskyy, after having a verbal spat with Donald Trump in the US on Friday, visited European Union, Europe area. First of all, he met the UK Prime Minister. UK Prime Minister laid down a plan which was not so convincing, that we will that Europe will provide military assistance to Ukraine. Okay, so the European Union combined spends 51% of the expenditure of the Ukraine war, whereas US alone has been incurring 65%. $65 billion, sorry. Okay, $51 billion, and this is $65 billion. So this is the state of expenditure. When this is the state of expenditure, can you expect Europe to unilaterally take care of the war and take care of the freedom of Ukraine's area, which is still under the possession of Russia? Okay, so this is the problem. I have done a holistic video of the duration around 12-13 minutes where I have comprehensively covered this dispute on this channel itself. You can check out that video in your spare time to get to know the genesis of the dispute from 2014 onwards. Okay, how it all started and how it all culminated into a full-blown war and then leading to a situation as we are standing at in 2025. Okay, the mistakes of Joe Biden, the mistakes of European Union countries, and what has Russia lost? How many countries have recently, name the countries that have recently joined NATO? In the neighboring area of Russia, which are the countries which have recently joined NATO forces? Okay, the NATO as a grouping. Now these are let's have a look at the mineral rich areas and the minerals that Ukraine is rich in, which India also wants, which China also wants, which US also wants. Donald Trump, in his conversation with Zelenskyy, has been highlighting the lending on lease of the areas where Ukraine is having these mineral deposits. Talk about graphite, manganese, iron, beryllium, lithium, uranium, titanium. 7% of the world's reserves of titanium, even though they are classified, are known to be there in the Ukraine's territory. Then uranium, 2% of the uranium. Okay, then lithium, we are all looking for the lithium batteries, etc., the iron, lithium ion, etc. Even though the information is not available, but it is said that 2 to 3% of the lithium reserves are there in Ukraine area, Ukraine territory. Okay, so our Prime Minister recently in 2023, he had visited Mongolia, another important region adjoining China. Mongolia is also rich in rare earth minerals. So this is the fight for minerals so as to make America great again. Now, moving further, thanks to the Donald Trump phenomena, the erstwhile European countries, the so-called powers, the so-called rich countries are now knocking at the door of India. Back-to-back meetings. First, the UK's Prime Minister, UK's delegation comes to India to conclude the long-pending free trade agreement. Then we see European Union Commission delegation comes and meets Prime Minister Modi. Then we see finally Belgian counterparts, the Belgian princess has come to India asking for some defense deals because Donald Trump has started a tariff war, because of which many countries may not be able to gain that kind of a trade level as they were having in the Joe Biden era. Now they're looking forward to the emerging market economies like India to get some contracts, to get some deals. Now here is the delegation from Belgium. Back to back, you see India UK FTA discussion is going on. India European Union FTA discussion is going on. Now our chief economic advisor yesterday has said that India needs to come up with the draft bilateral trade and investment treaty kind of agreement that could be watertight, so that we can negotiate and conclude the trade deals with these countries. Bilateral trade and investment agreement will be a model template agreement, so that that could be taken as a base to have negotiations. Okay, Bache, he is asking, sir, use some English words, not only English. This is the constraint I am working under. Okay, we are supposed to be speaking totally in English. Okay, so because we can cater to our friends in South India, Northeastern India. Okay, I will use some light words. I'll speak slowly so as to enable you to understand. Please be with me. I mean, I'll try my best to support you. Even though I know that we are giving the best of the content over here, but because of the language medium, there are some issues. But yes, so you understand, bilateral trade and investment agreement has to be struck, has to be signed. Okay, I mean, the template agreement, a skeletal agreement we need to prepare. Okay, the skeletal framework that will be there will make it easier for India to sign these deals quickly. Otherwise, with every new country that we will add for signing the FTA, we will have to draw the entire agreement again. We can have the broad contours, broad points of the agreement here in this template agreement, standard template to negotiate with each and every country that wants to sign free trade agreement with India. Okay, now we have covered in the last few days as to what are the points on which India and European Union are not able to agree. Free movement of professionals. We are a populous country. We want the free movement of people between India and Europe, India and UK. They say that allow us to sell our cars, BMW, Audi to India. We say that allow us to the free movement of people, at least the easy movement of Indians to European Union countries in search of job, employment, etc. So this is the problem that we are facing vis-a-vis India-EU FTA, which is pending since 2008. India and European Union, we have free trade, we have the strategic partnership agreement since 2004. Despite that, we are not able to conclude the economic side of the relationship, free trade agreement. Now talking about Belgium, Belgium has sought to sign some defense MOU, has sought to conclude the defense MOU in coming 1 year. Okay, in 1 year, they have set out the deadline that in next 1 year, India and Belgium will conclude the memorandum of understanding to enable India and Belgium to take their trade relationship to the next level, to the higher level. Okay, now Belgium is an important node or is an important center for approval of diamonds. Well, diamonds reminds me, every time we talk about diamond, I'm reminded of Adani and the ongoing case in the US. Well, let's not talk about that. Okay, now Surat is facing a lot of Surat diamond industry, the diamond cutters, the diamond polishing industry in Surat is facing a lot of problem. Why? Because the sanctions that have been imposed, because of those sanctions, Belgium being an important node or an important point where the diamonds are approved, okay, is unable to trade as much with India in terms of diamond trade between Belgium and India because of these EU sanctions and US sanctions. That is why India said that let India be made an important node, India be named as a node or certifying authority insofar as certification of diamonds is concerned. So these diamonds, even though they are mined from African countries, then they are imported into India for polishing and cutting, and then they are finally sold to the countries in Europe. So that is why the European countries, they are the diamond attesting authorities or certifying authorities. India says that even when India is certifying the diamonds, when India is polishing the diamonds, why can't India certify the diamonds? Okay, this is the negotiation going on because there is an important town in this country, Belgium, that is known as Antwerp. Okay, where the diamond certification process happens. You understand the meaning of process? The certification means that if a diamond is there, it has less value if it is not certified. So certification process is there in the hands of European countries like Italy. You talk about Belgium, you talk about Denmark, you talk about UK. That is why Nirav Modi is lying in, has hidden into, taken escape route to UK only. Okay, so the kind of frauds that we see, European Union countries are afraid that the diamond polishing process cannot be outsourced to, sorry, the diamond certification process cannot be given in the hands of India. So this is a kind of aspersion. India raising concerns over the impact of sanctions by G7 countries on raw diamonds being sent to India via Antwerp for processing. Antwerp sends it to India for processing. After processing, they are certified as highest grade, medium grade or lowest grade. So this is the problem. Now coming here, Supreme Court directs the states UTs to provide full records of the forest lands. So this brings us to an important judgment. We'll quickly conclude this. Godavarman judgment of 1996. Okay, Supreme Court said that all sorts of forest lands, even if there is a patch of 5 trees, 10 trees, 20 trees, that also needs to be categorized as forest and show the Supreme Court the complete record of forests, not just the forest lands as classified by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Why? Because keeping many areas outside the definition of the forest, ministry will siphon off or ministry will divert that land for some non-forest use. That is why Supreme Court said that let's go by the broadest definition possible of the forest and include the dictionary meaning of the forest, including the statutorily recognized forests, not just those forests which are labeled as forests by Ministry of Environment and Forest. So this comprehensive definition of forest was sought by the Supreme Court in 1996 T.N. Godavarman judgment. Okay, but what the ministry has done is, what the state governments have done is, they have diluted the essence of Supreme Court judgment and have instead classified only those areas as forests which are strictly labeled as forests as per the definition given by the ministry, leading to a situation whereby the areas which are otherwise having dense forest cover or tree cover are also not included. That means the trees are being felled in those areas, leading to the ecological damage, disturbance of ecological balance. Now see the quantum here. The amendments, the newly promulgated amendments to the forest rules. Okay, what they say is any piece of land that is classified as forest before October 5, 1980 will be classified as forest. Okay, but anything classified as forest on or after of October 25, 1980, okay, by law and areas recorded in the government records will be notified as forests. So that means the comprehensiveness of the forest regulations, the forest law has been diluted. This exclusion of the areas which have been labeled, the amendment restricts the forest to lands declared or notified as forests after October 25, 1980. Can this be a question in the prelims? Yes, this can very well be a question in the preliminary examination also. Okay, what is the cutoff date? You need to memorize this date also. So the impact of this dilution, restriction of the forest to only those lands declared as or notified as the forests by the law and by the areas, by the state authorities after October 25, 1980 will not be considered as forests. The import of this new rule is that approximately 2 lakh square kilometer of the forest land out of 7.13 lakh square kilometer will be taken out of the definition, thereby rendering thereby making this land vulnerable for chopping off of the trees, cutting down of the trees, thereby further reducing the forest area of India. So Godavarman judgment said you have a comprehensive definition, whereas the new rules enacted by the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change are seeking to dilute the forest areas to only those areas which are labeled or notified as forests after October 5, 1980. Clear? Why this date is important? You read the date of Forest Act. Okay, what is the date in which Forest Act was year in which Forest Act was amended. So this is there. Okay. Now please answer, forest as a subject comes under which ministry? Okay. Which is the act, which is the compensatory afforestation agency? What is the name of that agency I'm talking about? Okay. So that name matches with the name of the soft drinks. Read more about it. So this is there. Okay. Now the new rule 16 is the bone of contention here. Coming to the last news article of the day quickly. IMF overexposure by NBFCs may imperil the financial system. IMF says that overexposure of NBFCs to electricity sector, to the power sector distribution companies, to the Anil Ambani's Reliance Power. Okay, NBFCs have lent loans to electricity sector, power sector in India, which might inhibit the phenomena, which might render the overall India's overall financial stability vulnerable to this kind of a shock, because their debt, their NPAs of the distribution companies, electricity companies, are at an all-time high. It has been a long pending problem of India. So that is why the stress in the non-banking financial sector might feed into the overall banking sector. Banks, they lend loan to NBFCs. NBFCs have got a lenient criteria to lend loans to other entities, including micro lending. Other day also we were reading about it, including power sector. Okay, so that is because of the lenient regulations of NBFCs by RBI. They have been working in a fraudulent manner also in many cases. Okay, so banks' money, the public's money lying in the banks has been lent to risky NBFCs. These NBFCs are in turn lending to power sector and infrastructure sector, roadways, etc. This might render the whole financial system of India vulnerable. This is what International Monetary Fund is saying. Perhaps the International Monetary Fund is trying to seek some favors from Donald Trump by highlighting some problems in India, because WHO, WTO, they have been facing some onslaught from Donald Trump. IMF is still untouched. We hope that International Monetary Fund will also get the scolding, its share of scolding from the Donald Trump anytime, from the US president anytime soon. Okay, so you see, look at the share of the IFCs in total lending. Okay, international financial corporations in total lending to the power sector has increased in past 5 years. You see, total lending has been increasing. Okay, three largest IFCs, their share is PSBs, public sector banks, 32%. Okay, then 56% of the lending of the IFCs, international financial companies or corporations, 63% lending, the loans lent by these IFCs have been increasingly going to power sector. This is the exposure. This might be deterring for India's stability. This might be harmful for India's financial sector stability. So guys, this was all in today's news analysis. We'll keep on meeting every day like this. Some articles will be thoroughly analyzed, and some of them which we were leaving out earlier in terms of factual coverage will also be covered. Wish to see everyone on a daily basis. It is better to watch it live. It is better to cover it right in the morning, so that your one important task of the day, that is getting hold of the current affairs, is completed right in the morning. PDF will be shared in a short while from now on the Telegram channel. The link of the Telegram channel is given in the description box below. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.